What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name is Adam, also known as the Plant Power Coach, and today I am joined by Trevor. Trevor, how are you doing today, mate?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Where are you in the world before I clarify that? I know it's the US somewhere.
No, I live in Canada.
Oh, sorry, Canada,
Cold.
Canada.
Yeah.
US, sorry, my mistake
Mine
here.
is minus 30 right now. We're in the middle of our cold snap. But yeah, I'm in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
Yeah. Well, you're not really showing that it's cold outside right now. In the tank top and everything. Um,
Yeah.
Look, I appreciate your time today. I'm going to start off very, very simple. You and I have actually a very similar following in regards to, like sometimes I get some big names on my YouTube channel, and but I don't necessarily want people to have hundreds of thousands of followers. I just want people to have like to share their story. So just for the people that don't know you, potentially the people that follow me, could you tell us like a little bit about yourself and essentially how we got here today?
Well, so about me, like obviously name's Trevor Jackson. I've been a bodybuilder since I was like in my early 20s. I started competing. Been working out since I was 14. Was a very big meat eater in my early 20s, like ate like more meat than most people probably eat in their whole life during like a 5 year period, like pounds and pounds a day to, old school kind of bodybuilding diet. And then was been vegan now for like 6.5 years. I competed in several shows vegan. I have a background in boxing and stuff like that too. So I try to do a lot of that kind of training now. I'm not competing anymore. Now I'm just focusing on other areas of my life than bodybuilding. So I did about 9 or 10 shows. So it's really, really hard on the body. So taking a break from that and kind of getting more into boxing training and kickboxing and but still lifting weights and trying to be, as big as I can and try to maintain my health and stuff like that all at the same time.
Ama
And
Amazing. It, you mentioned in the form, like before when we booked in this call, you work as a bouncer. That must be pretty interesting as well.
yeah. I work two jobs, so I do about 70 hours a week most weeks with both jobs. I've worked as much as like 80 hours a week and still train 5 days a week with weights, and then I'll do cardio several times a week too. And then yeah, my day job, I work at a tire shop all day, and then usually drive right to the club and bounce until 3 in the morning, and get up and do it all again. And try to I make all my own food too, so I do like 6 meals usually a day. So that's a lot of prep work too. So it's basically just go and
Damn, man,
yeah.
that's a lot of work. That's yeah, okay. How do you get time for yourself? That wasn't even one of my questions.
I get like afternoons, like right now is my afternoon off from Costco, my day job. So I'll prep my food, do a little bit more. I train more actually when I'm off. So I did legs this morning and then did 30 minutes of cardio. And then I go back later tonight and do like an hour and a half of kickboxing training. I'm just starting at a kickboxing gym. I was doing just boxing at my the same gym I train weights at just by myself. So now I'm
Mm,
actually getting into back into competing at it or fighting at a gym anyways or training at a fight gym,
amazing,
so um
amazing.
yeah,
And
but yeah, no, as far as time for myself, like I probably get a little bit of time there, but during my afternoons off, is usually when I prep my food. So I'll get all my food ready at that time, and then I'll make enough food for like two days, and then usually I'll have one day off from Costco, and then I would work the next couple of days, and then work at the club at night, and then I'll get another afternoon off. So I split up my days off so that I can cook food in the afternoon, and then I get the odd night off, so I'll get a little bit of time to myself then. I usually just spend it. I got a girlfriend that I live with her and her 3 kids, so I kind of try to find time for them as well. But
absolutely.
they're usually busy.
I would kind of summarize this my YouTube channel as kind of revolving around three things. Number one is fitness. Number two is plant-based nutrition. So essentially eating a healthy plant-based diet. And then of course the philosophical belief of veganism. So I want to kind of break those three things down a little bit further in regards to yourself. You mentioned you're doing some training and you're meal prepping at the moment. I know you and I would both agree that not everyone should be doing necessarily what you're doing, but what does your training look like, and what does your nutrition look like exactly? Are you tracking your calories? Are you tracking your macros? Is it like an upper body split? Is it a bro split? What does that look like exactly?
I love the bro split.
Yeah.
I've always tried like the PPL and or push pull leg kind of thing, and I've tried other ones, and I always end up back on like it's like a 5 day split. So
Yeah.
I'll train like chest one day and then back the next day, and shoulders. I love training shoulders on their own day. Same with arms. I love doing just an arm day. It was funny. I heard Jay Cutler on a podcast a while ago, and he mentioned he does like pretty much the same way I break mine apart. So it'll be like 5 day
Yeah.
rotation. But I'll usually take 1 or 2 days off from weights a week. But then I'll do the cardio and boxing and kickboxing training on top of that too. So
Mm.
I do a lot of volume, I would say, for my training. And then as far as how I actually lift, like I'm not doing crazy heavy weights anymore. Like I'll do some moderate heavy stuff, but I'm getting a little bit older now and had a few injuries, and now I'm just trying to
Yeah.
maintain the muscle I have and focus more on the endurance and cardio too. And then nutrition wise, I don't track anything anymore. I did for years. I was on meal plans for bodybuilding. I was on a meal plan like all year round. Now I just intuitively eat. I've always done my own diets and stuff like that too. So I kind of learned my body over the years as I went. I did, most of my bodybuilding shows I did myself. Uh, I probably would have done better if I had a coach because it is really hard to peak the last few weeks on your own. But I got a good idea on how to lose body fat and gain muscle, for myself. So I do intuitive eating, and some days I'm so busy. It's like if I was to track calories, it wouldn't make sense because there's days where I'm working 14 hours and then more training and stuff. So like I'd have to adjust the calories on a daily basis, and it'd be too hard to follow. Like it'd be almost like every day would have to be different. So that's what I do anyways. Is I know what I'm gonna have for that day, like what I'm gonna be doing, and then I make enough food for that. Every meal has pro. I do usually eat 6 meals a day. Sometimes I'll have a snack too. I always wake up in the middle of the night and eat snacks, but usually it's just like dates and peanut butter or like I don't know, so usually that's what it is. Actually, dates and peanut butter. That's my
Yeah.
favorite snack.
Amazing.
And every meal though is like high protein, like 40 to 60 grams of protein per meal. And then I do a moderate amount of carbs, and I'm pretty moderate on the fats too. My calories are probably about 5,000 a day just to maintain like my body weight.
Amazing. I want to tie all of that, which is, that fitness aspect, and tie it into what to me sounds like a moral and ethical stance. Am I right to say that you're vegan for the animals? Is that a correct assumption?
Originally it was actually for health. It
Hmm.
was 100% for health. I used to always like be one of those people that ate a lot of meat, and I always said like, I never cared about animals at all, really. And I would have never switched, I think, to a vegan diet for the animals unless something like really switched in my head or somebody convinced me. But I was so focused on bodybuilding, and I knew I had to, or I thought I had to eat animals to build muscle. And because I was so obsessed with bodybuilding, like it doesn't matter. I didn't care about anything. I was so like focused on that. But then I had a bunch of health issues. I started getting stomach ulcers, bad acid reflux every day. I had to take acid reflux pills. My blood pressure was high. I had swollen ankles. I could just feel I was unhealthy. And the ulcers is kind of what pushed me over the edge because I wasn't able to eat comfortably. So it was making it harder and harder to eat. So I decided to do a vegan diet to try to alleviate some of the stress on my stomach from all the animal protein I was eating. I was going to do it temporarily for like a couple of weeks to try to heal this ulcer. My sister was vegan, so she was the one who kind of, told me a lot of the facts about you know, how much eating that much meat could do, to your body. Because
Mm.
I was eating like probably 5 pounds a day
Wow.
of meat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I switched for that reason. And then along the way, like I've watched a lot of the documentaries like Dominion and Earthlings and stuff like that. And I started to get more you know, of a connection there that what we're eating was actually something that was alive and suffered and stuff like that. So I did get more into that side of it, but I wouldn't say I'm like an activist by any means though. Like I more let everybody. I understand where like people who eat meat because I used to eat tons, so I don't judge anybody. And I just try to, if somebody asks me about it, I'll tell them my experience. and I try to be a good example by, being muscular and fit and feeling good and having lots of energy. So people will look at me and be like, "Oh, what do you do to be that way?" And I'll tell them about my diet if they ask. And I feel like that's a good. I've actually helped a lot of people that wanted to switch to vegan diet
Mm,
because they weren't sure that you could actually build muscle and stuff. And when they see me, they're like, "Wow, like I guess it is possible." And so I feel like that's my kind of approach to it instead of trying to tell everybody that it's, wrong and we're
mm,
hurting, planet and all those kind of things. Like, because when I was eating meat, I would hear that kind of stuff and I just wouldn't even listen. I
yeah.
didn't care. So, but if I seen somebody that looked really good and was, somebody that I looked up to, like as an example for how I want to look or feel or kind of person I want to be, and they told me that they were vegan, I probably would have been like more interested in switching
Mm.
for that versus just somebody tell me that it's not right.
Yeah, you mentioned you're not an activist by any means, but to be honest, what you've just mentioned sounds like your form of activism, which I think is great. We had another person on the show one day, and he was an activist, and he was very much explaining how a lot of people can do their own form of activism. It doesn't necessarily mean being out on the street, holding a screen, showing what happens in the slaughterhouse. So kudos to you and kudos to your sister as well, who kind of showed you there was another way, which is I think is fantastic. Anyway, I think I've seen your sister on your Instagram page. I
Yeah.
believe you share quite a bit of her content too, so that's great. Um, it sounds like she was your biggest influence. Was there any other sort of influence besides her? Besides you mentioned Dominions, was there like any sort of small bites like chipping away at
And
your?
the
Yep,
first one, the first one that made a huge difference was actually What the Health.
yep.
That was the first one I ever watched. Because at first when I switched, I was doing a vegetarian for a couple of days. I was having eggs and cheese, and I was going to try that. And then I watched What the Health, and that's kind of what gave me the idea just to get rid of all the animal products and see how I felt. And going back to that, actually, after like the first day that I started a plant based diet, I had no acid reflux. I didn't even take my prescription that day. It was like purely from the amount of protein I was trying to digest from
Mm,
animal sources that was causing that acidity in my stomach. And then I still had the ulcer, obviously, but after a few weeks, the ulcer, I just couldn't even feel it anymore. It just was gone. I
yeah.
never had an issue with ulcers again, and I don't have acid reflux anymore. And I don't eat as much protein as I did then, but I found out, through experimenting that I didn't actually need that much. So, but I do still eat about 300 to 350 grams a day, but it doesn't cause me any digestive issues that I had before.
That is probably like the biggest question a lot of people watching right now, because you're a big guy, you got tattoos everywhere, and they're looking at you going, "There's no way this guy's vegan." But like, Trevor, where do you get your protein from?
Yeah. I have a lot of. I actually, what? Eventually, I want to start doing some videos and on like some of my recipes because I love my food now. I used to just eat the plainest like chicken and rice. I'd actually drink my rice. I used to eat chicken that was unseasoned, like 8 to 10 ounces, and then I would be so like full and stuffed after that, and I'd be on a 15-minute break. I ground up minute rice and I would drink it, slam it back, and then so I didn't enjoy any of my food. Now I use seitan quite a bit. I don't have issues with gluten at all. Like it doesn't cause me any kind of digestive issues or inflammation. I've been eating it for years. So I'll do seitan. I make my own. I have a really good recipe for it. I'll make it in like a stir fry. I'll add that with quinoa. So I always use like grains that are higher in protein and fats that are higher in protein. So it all accumulate. So I use nuts and seeds and hemp parts as fat sources, and then I'll do a lot of oatmeal. Oatmeal is actually fairly high in protein, and I'll do quinoa and beans and bean pastas, stuff like that. And then there are carb sources, but they'll add some protein. And then I have my pure protein sources would be like seitan. I'll use TVP, textured vegetable protein. Obviously, protein powders. I do use like usually 2 meals a day right now, where protein powder will be my main protein source. But I always add other stuff like oatmeal and fruit and like hemp parts, stuff like that. So never having like just a protein shake. It's always a protein shake and then some other foods added to it.
Uh,
But yeah, I have like the same structure to most of my days, but just like kind of vary the recipes I do. I make a really good pasta salad with like a tahini sauce,
Mhm.
with like a tofu crumble with a Greek seasoning on it. That's one of my favorite meals right now. Um, I got a lot,
But for what it's
lots of
worth,
bacon
I
too.
want to see those recipes, and I'd love to. Yeah, I'll be happy to share those pieces of content as well. So yeah, like I want to share. I guess we're going into the sort of more difficult questions here. Let's say not again, not so difficult you can't answer them, but they might take a bit of processing. Um, your lifestyle revolves around bodybuilding, which in and itself, especially with older generation, I know my mum is not happy with. I've done bodybuilding in the past. She's not happy about me being vegan. I've got some tattoos, not as much as you, obviously, even covering your face. Considering like things like the tattoos, the bodybuilding, the veganism, how do the people around you feel about your lifestyle?
Um, Honestly, I get a lot like so the tattoos is probably the biggest thing I get question like people that are curious about. I have a lot of people that like ask me it's the same questions every day. It's like did they hurt? Like how many hours I have, stuff like that. And then my bodybuilding lifestyle, like everybody that's close to me just kind of gets used to it. It's just I don't know, I guess a part of me. But um, yeah, I don't know. That is a difficult answer or question.
Yeah. And with your bodybuilding career, I think you mentioned it as well how long you've been bodybuilding for, and I know you've been vegan for about 6 years. I think that's correct. Was there an overlap considering you're not bodybuilding as much anymore? Between so have you got like experience non-vegan bodybuilding and vegan bodybuilding? Is that correct or not really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did my first like 4 shows, I think. Not vegan, lots of meat, and then I stepped away because of the issues I was having. And then once I went plant-based, once I started finding protein sources that I could use, like at first it was very hard. I actually lost muscle, but I felt so good. I just kept doing it.
Hmm.
I kind of switched more to caring about my health and trimmed down a bit. But then as I was doing the vegan diet for longer, I started to like notice more foods I could get protein from, and I started to actually get like 300 grams of protein a day and started pushing the weights again a lot heavier and actually started building muscle, and I kind of built my physique back and then some. So I actually the last few shows that I did as a vegan, the last one would have been the biggest that I've been. So I was 242 pounds when I weighed in. I still could have been like leaner though. Like I never won any competitions. I did like I was pretty competitive at all of them, and I had a few like first place in my class and like top fives and stuff. But I definitely wasn't on a high level, but I did it more for myself. Like I loved
Mm,
the training, I love the diet, I love getting having a goal to get ready for. I love that structure in my life. But
mm,
yeah, now I definitely uh shifted my focus a bit, but still have that structure and everything. But yeah, I have experienced non-vegan and vegan. I noticed no difference really as far as putting on muscle. I just obviously noticed a difference in the way I felt because I was able to digest all my food a lot easier. My blood pressure was better.
mm.
See all the health issues I had. I also had cleared up my acne. I had really bad back acne. I used to eat a lot of like cottage cheese and yogurt, like Greek yogurt and stuff like that, and whey protein. I had a lot of whey protein, and I don't know if that was the cause of it, but I had big like zits all over my back and arms. And once I went plant based, they actually cleared up. I have very few pimples now, so
Yeah. I've never actually shared this before on the show, but when I kind of first started my fitness journey, I was not vegan by any means, and I went to the shops and I was like such a noob that I thought whey protein was like steroids. That's what I thought it was. And I got this like big box of whey protein. I was a bit scared, and I started like taking that, and within the first few days, I put on within the first week or two, I'd put on about 5 kilos and I got leaner in the process. But man, was I having stomach issues. The first time in my life, I had to wake up in the middle of the night to rush to the bathroom to go number two. And I was just like, never happened to me in my life. It was just, and I kept taking it simply because I was getting bigger and bigger. And I thought this was like this magic pill, not to
yeah.
realize that I was just consuming more calories. I was getting more protein in my system and the acne, like you said, and just the stomach issues I was having. It's unbelievable, and so many stories of people just having issues and removing dairy and it fixing it all. So yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that. I guess you kind of answered my next part, which is, but it's more for like the skeptics out there. You mentioned you found no difference when it came to muscle building. What do you say to those people who are bodybuilders who say you can't build muscle being vegan, you can't build muscle like being plant-based?
Well, they never tried it, so they don't actually like they're going based off of like what they read or heard from somebody else. But until you actually try a 100% vegan diet and get the same macros that you have on a meat-based diet or close to, and then do the same training, if you're on PEDs, take the same PEDs. It's like keep everything the same, but just switch your diet and tell me that you don't, build the same amount of muscle, because I guarantee you if you did that,
Yeah.
you would. The only issues I think with bodybuilding at a higher level, like if you have soy or gluten allergy, it might make it a lot harder, because getting ready
Mhm.
for competition you have to get the protein really high, and the fats and carbs have to get lower. So most I guess you could use protein powders. Like I'm sure you could still do it, but it'd be a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you can get the same amount of protein, same macros,
Yeah.
train the same and everything like that, I don't think anybody would notice a difference. I
You,
never did anyway. I can just talk from my own experience, really. So I never noticed a difference.
you bring up a really good point, which is keeping everything the same. The biggest problem I see with people failing the going to go plant-based is having a plate full of meat and then a side salad and then removing the meat and then not replacing it with anything else. They've just removed a potential 2000 calories a day, which might be healthy, to 200 calories a day of fruits and vegetables, which is not going to give you enough. Like 200 calories a day of anything is not going to be enough. So yeah, like you said, bring up a really good point. Match the calories, match the macros, match the protein, all the things that you've been doing before. Do them plant-based, and if you don't see the results, come speak to Trevor.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people don't factor in fiber too. Like if somebody goes on a plant-based diet and their fiber intake's way higher and they're counting those fiber calories towards their net, and they're having 2,000 calories a day, and now they're having 2,000 calories a day, but there's a whole bunch more fiber, they're not actually gonna be absorbing as many calories, and they're going to feel like they're weaker, and but they're actually absorbing less. So you might have to bump up the calories a little bit even. But if you eat enough calories, you'll feel good and have energy if you're having a variety of like healthy whole foods. It might take a little bit of time to get used to the extra fiber load for some people. I never had an issue switching to a higher fiber diet, but some people might take a few weeks to get used to it.
Hey, you heard it first, guys. Eat more plant-based. Okay, so yeah, we've got like more of the tougher questions of people around you. Um, this one again is kind of along the same lines, potentially maybe a little bit more difficult. But how do you, sorry, do you have non-vegan friends and family in your life? And if so, what do you feel? How do you feel about them not being vegan?
Oh, I have. I'd say the majority of the people I'm friends with and most of my family are not vegan. And yeah, I have no issue with it at all. I don't, like I said, I understand where they're coming from, and they just haven't found that inspiration to switch yet, whether it's for like animals or environmental or health. But everybody's on their own journey, and I just try to lead by example, and hope that people will make the better choices with their food,
Mm,
like just for the environment and ethically. And I think it'd be better for most people's health too, cutting out a lot of the red meats and processed meats and processed foods, and switching to more whole plant foods. It doesn't have to be
yeah.
entirely vegan, but I think if people were to cut down their meat consumption and add in more whole plant foods, and the biggest issue I have really is with the way they process the meat now, like the factory farms, and
Mm,
the demand for meat. So they have to produce the meat a certain way in order to meet that demand. So if people ate less and they demanded more, or they even if they made laws against confined factory farming, and made all the meat grass fed, people hunted their own meat, and obviously you'd have to consume less in order to be able to do that. But it'd be better for our health and better for the environment that way
mm.
if we were to cut down at least on the production.
Absolutely. It sounds like you've got like a great bunch of family and friends around you supporting you. I
They actually, everybody in my family, they all that will go for dinner. They'll have a separate table for the vegan food because we have a couple of vegans in our family. But yeah, they're the best with that kind of stuff. They always make sure, like when they cook, they'll have it separated for me. And going to restaurants, most restaurants have plant-based food, so all my friends have no problem going for food with me. And
Mm.
actually, I have friends that come to me with the vegan restaurants too, because they a lot of people actually enjoy the vegan food at some of the restaurants that we have in Edmonton. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
everybody's
it sounds
very
like you're
good about
having
it.
lots of positive experience. I know from my own experience, but from a lot of stuff that I've seen inside groups and hearing from friends and family who are vegan, you know, awkward times like Christmas and stuff, where traditionally there's lots of meat and animal-based products. You can get the odd drunk uncle who comes around and starts like giving you a go for giving you a hard time for being vegan. What about like those instances? Do you have people like that in your family who aren't necessarily going to say anything about what you're doing, but just seem to bring up stuff which you already understand isn't necessarily true?
Honestly, in my family, I don't have anybody like that. I'll be honest
Yeah.
with you. Yeah, like we're all very, and because like my sister was vegan for a long time. My mom's mostly vegetarian, and then on my dad's side, my dad's mostly pescatarian. Like he cut out most meat a while
Mm,
ago for health reasons, and actually he had a lot of positive experiences switching to a plant-based diet or pescatarian. He actually was doing, but so yeah, both sides of the family that I have, they never really poke fun at it or make comments, but.
yeah. No, that's great. I think that's awesome.
Honestly, I think being intimidating helps a lot with the because even out in public, most people when I say I'm vegan, they usually are more curious about it versus like trying to make fun of me. So
Oh yeah. I don't think many people can make fun of you. There's like they can't really say where do you get your protein from, can they? So
yeah.
all right, so I've got one more. No, actually, no, before I get to the sign off question. Um, I think I've kind of got the answer from this already. Everyone seems to have a very, very different answer to this. Some people find it very hard to answer. Some people find it very easy to answer. And there's no right or wrong here. I'm just wanting to find out a little bit about your perspective on the question. Are vegans better than non-vegans?
I don't think anybody's better than anybody else. I think we're all on our own separate journeys and experiencing our own realities in our own personal ways. So, like what one person's doing, they feel in their mind is right. So yeah, no, I don't think anybody's better than anybody else. I think we're all just on our own courses and have our own realities that we're living. I feel that for me, it's what's best. So I feel like it's the best choice that I can make for my health, and I think I'm doing a little bit better environmentally than I was when I was eating meat. So I'm not going to say I'm
Mm.
doing better than somebody else. I consume more food than the average person, so I still have a big impact. Um, but I feel like me versus the old me is what I want to be better than. I want to be better than I was before. I want to be better than I was yesterday. So I always want to be better, but I don't think I'm better than anybody else.
I love that answer, and honestly, I very much agree with you. I think we can all do a little bit better, and if we all try and be the best person that we can be, that should be the end goal in a sense. Um, Bit of a sign-off question. It's a bit of a long one, so take your time to process this. If you could go back in time to your younger self, or potentially someone who just reminds you of you, what would you say to them based on everything we've discussed today, or from what you know now?
If I could go back to the older me, like, or sorry, the younger me, probably even 15 years old or as young as possible, I would have told myself to switch to a plant-based diet because growing up when I was in high school, I had the worst acne and I used to love. I don't know. I personally I feel like it was the dairy that was causing it for me because when I cut it out, it just everything cleared up. But I had the worst pimples and I had a lot of bad self-esteem issues because of that. So I would have loved to start a plant-based diet earlier. I feel like my boxing career, eating a healthier diet when I was boxing, I didn't know how to eat at all. I wasn't even, consuming a lot of whole foods. And I was not eating enough calories. So I feel like my boxing career would have been better as well. And then when I started bodybuilding. It would have been nice to do it all from the start on a plant-based diet and do it 100% that way, because I feel like I wouldn't have caused my body so much damage. I think my body's mostly healed from the damage I was causing myself in the early 20s, but yeah, I think the earlier to start that, the better.
That's awesome, dude. Where can people find you? Where's I know your Instagram handle, but let's see if you've got a website or anything at all, or Instagram. Is there anything you can share with the people? I'll put it in the description below.
All I got is my Instagram at the moment, Vegan Monster 7, and
Yep.
I would like to start YouTube in the future, so keep an eye
But you're
out for that. But I'll post any links for videos that I do on my Instagram as well.
amazing. And if you do set up that channel, do let me know because I can redirect it from this video as well straight to you. And then that way we can spread the love. So thank you so much for your time today, Trevor. I don't say that lightly. Look, I know we'll be in touch more on Instagram. I'm sure in the future we can dive into more topics, potentially chat about your tattoos, see how many hours you've actually got behind if they hurt. Um, but yeah, man, thanks again so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, man. Cheers. Bye.